Hey everybody, Brian from Necronomicast here. The music you hear in the background is from Coyote Chris Sutton. He was a musician, author, storyteller, presenter, show host. Coyote Chris was well known in the paranormal community, and he lost his battle with cancer last month. He was scheduled to be a guest on this program for 2022, and unfortunately, things aren't going to work out that way. But I just wanted to dedicate the October programming of this show to the memory of Coyote Chris. He was known for bringing light to the darkest places. Rest in peace, Coyote Chris. And now, on with our October programming on the Necronomicast. From the haunted Heartland in Omaha, Nebraska, my name is Brian Corey, and it is my pleasure to welcome you one and all, young and old, to this episode of the Necronomicast. I'm going to begin my October programming featuring and highlighting the unique and special voices, personalities, and stories of the haunted Heartland. First up, a gentleman by the name of Ron Haskett. Ron is a paranormal investigator of sorts. He is the subject of a documentary that you can watch on YouTube entitled Answering the Call. I'm going to sit down with Ron inside the infamous Malvern Manor in the Shadow Man hallway in Malvern, Iowa, and discover exactly why Ron felt the need, the call that brought him halfway across the United States and to the haunted Heartland.
All right. This is a kind of a first for the Necronomicast. Usually have in-studio calls, recorded calls, things like that, but we are actually on location inside the Malvern Manor in Malvern, Iowa. And I'm joined here by Mr. Ron Haskett. How you doing, Ron?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
We had a nice little visit as I was learning to set up the microphone. I got a new microphone, so we'll have to see how this is working. But here we are. This is the Shadow Man hallway. And,
yes.
And you and I have had the opportunity to investigate this together. And you've investigated this place a million times. It's like a home away from home for you.
It is home away from home. Absolutely.
And Nebraska is kind of a home away from home.
Nebraska is home away from home. You're right.
So where are you from?
I was actually born and raised in the hills of West Virginia by two people that had a very rocky relationship, if you can call it a relationship.
Right.
I call him sperm donor and egg donor. Sorry. I mean, you have to earn the title to be mom or dad.
Right.
He had no interest in knowing how to love a child, and she simply had no idea how. He would beat the hell out of her, leave her outside during winter months, forcing her to sleep in cars. So if I was planned, and I really have no idea, if I was planned, it was so those beatings would stop. They never did. 9 months into pregnancy, he threw us down a flight of stairs, because we were womb mates, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I was born, I had all these tubes in my head, and I was quite the sight, you know, to look at after birth. But thankfully, I had grandparents who knew that there would be no way I would survive under those conditions. And they took me in.
Your grandparents?
My grandparents, and absolutely.
Are they still with us?
They are not. My father passed away September 16th, 2001 of lung cancer. My mother passed away November 25th of ovarian cancer, 2009, the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
when did you move to Nebraska?
I moved to Nebraska in 2012, right after my mother, 3 years after my mother's passing.
Now, you and I have hung out before, and you took me on a really nice tour, like a walking tour of downtown Malvern, and told me about the different buildings and things like
Yeah.
that, and the history of the town that I didn't know, and kind of the surrounding area around the Malvern Manor. And we even checked out the cemetery, and so you know this place. What brought you to specifically Nebraska? I mean, what do you call your documentary Answering the Call, and it refers to you answering the call here in the Malvern Manor, but was there a call to why Nebraska for God's sake? Why?
Well, that's a very interesting question. When I told people that I'm moving to Nebraska, my neighbors who really love me, they consider me their nephew, and they said, please don't. There's nothing in Nebraska but cornfields and pig farms. And at this moment in my life, it was 2012, I was living in isolation. I didn't have family come see me, and after my mom passed away, I was living my life as if my life were already over, and I told them, I said, it'll be fine. If I have a pig for a friend, that's more than I have out here, And I came here in 2012 because actually my wife's cousin invited me to move here. She said, my sister and I are moving, she's going to live here, I'm going to live here, and will you, start this new journey with me? We were just friends. I said, absolutely. And on October 6th, 2012, I landed in Omaha.
Nice. Okay. So here we are, Omaha, Nebraska. You're getting settled.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, at that time, have an interest in the paranormal, or?
When my mom passed away in 2009, I experienced a little stuff, mainly someone's watching you, someone's following you. And the longer I stayed there, the stronger things became. It was almost like my emotions would feed into it. One day I was in my kitchen and I was just crying because a lot of our life happened at the kitchen table, as you can see. And you didn't have to laugh at that. But a lot of life happened at the kitchen table, and, just crying that things would never be the same again. And as I'm sitting there crying, this $100 and some coffee pot that she just bought before passing away kicked on. And it was like immediately, like no more tears, no more sobbing. I unplugged it, walked it to the neighbor and said, you know what, Christmas came early this year, happy holiday. Gave it away. Absolutely gave it away. Things would turn, but even then, I wasn't a believer. Yeah, I couldn't explain it, but it wasn't enough to believe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until later on I was made into a believer.
Now you, for whatever reason, you can explain better than I can, you decided to come to here, the Malvern Manor. Was it just by chance? Do you just want to check it out, or were you called to the place?
Yes, my wife loves paranormal shows, and I've never been overly interested. There's a couple shows that over the years the location has caught my attention, but for the most part, it's just noise in the background while I scroll my phone,
Yeah.
And she was watching Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Groff. And she said, hey, this is 15 minutes from where I work. I didn't care, had no interest, why are you telling me? And it's still playing. And then I heard the name Inez Gibson. And her story 1,000% changed my life and changed who I am.
Mm-hmm. So Inez Gibson, tell us a little bit about her.
Inez Gibson was born in August of 1888. She had two siblings, two brothers, Otto and, oh goodness, the other name just left me. But their parents had, I hate to say abandoned them, but their parents left them. Aunt and uncle took care of them. The uncle was a very successful grocer in the town of Malvern. One day in 1900, a couple days before Christmas, her and her brother Otto were outside playing. She's cold. She goes upstairs. He follows shortly after and finds his sister hanging in a closet. Very traumatic, very traumatic, very sad.
12 years old, and I know you've done all kinds of research going back through archives, historical accounts through the newspapers and everything, and there seems to be discrepancy about how this happened to her.
There's a lot of discrepancies. You know, one article says that she was despondent, she was failing in school, that she just hadn't lost interest. And they think that she done it because of her grades and because of the stress. Another article said that she was in good spirits that day. She came home, she talked to the house girl, I think is what they called her. Talked to the house girl, played with her brother, talked to her parrot. Her uncle gave her 25 cents for every A that she made, and she was going to take that money to buy gifts for her family and for her friends, either buy them or make them. And, you know, it's just, like you said, a lot of discrepancies, but I will say this about that. Hearing her story of how she loved people so much that she gave back, and the fact that she never got to give those gifts, it really bothered me. Mm-hmm. And because of that, last year, I donated to a great charity. This year, I'm actually working with someone in Canada. We're going to do year 2 of Inez Gibson's Christmas Redemption, and we're going to give to 2 families this year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because I want to keep her legacy alive. Not that she was a ghost in Malvern Manor, but that simply there was a little girl by the name of Inez Gibson who lived, laughed, loved, played on these streets. You know, she made a difference in people's lives when she was here.
She, most likely, or it's been kind of established that she did not end her life, or her life did not end here at the manor. But there's interesting theories of why people pick up on her here and why she might wander the halls here to this day.
Correct. Yeah. Excuse me. So one of the most interesting things about my encounter with Inez happened just the week before her birthday party. I said, I'm going to have her birthday party. People come into Malvern Manor day after day. They talk about her death. Let's celebrate her life. And the week of that party, I began to see images in my head as to what really happened to her, as to what she really went through. And for a moment, I thought I was slipping. You know, it scared me because I don't think this way. I had the party and there was an amazing medium here. And she was talking about Inez. I said, yeah, but her story isn't her story. You know, the story that people are getting, it's not the story she gave me. And she was shocked because she didn't know that anyone else knew this. And we went outside and we talked about it, and she would start conversation and I would finish it, you know. And more than anything, I think she was very shocked that her and I had such a strong connection.
And you feel that?
I feel that. I feel that all the time.
And you feel it outside of the walls of the manor?
Oh, absolutely. During COVID, I didn't feel comfortable coming here a lot, you know, and I couldn't obviously have her big birthday party the way I wanted to. So I went to Party City and got her, I believe it was 6 or 7 balloons. I bought her a big birthday hat and I just put it in my man cave. And, you know, happy birthday, honey. I love you. I'm sorry we can't have your regular party, but you know what? You're great, you're loved, and I celebrate you. Now, the lady at Party City told me that, I shouldn't say Party City, but the lady there told me that these balloons will only last a day, so if you need them tomorrow, you should wait until tomorrow. I said, no, they'll be fine, they'll keep.
Yeah.
A week later, they were still floating. And I noticed one was kind of drooping a little bit. So I'm like, I don't want you having bad looking balloons, honey, and I snipped it. As soon as I snipped it, I knew that I had made a mistake. That balloon shot up, and I'm like, well, why was it sagging if it can go up like that, you know? Mm-hmm. So I walked the wife to the car because she was on her way to work. I come home and the balloon's missing. Where the hell did it go? So I'm looking, you know, in the hallway. It left the room that it was in, went down the hall, over my sink into the trash can.
It was kind of a jerk move for you to snip a toy.
It really kind of was.
To snip a girl's balloon.
Yeah, and it really was. You know, my intentions were pure,
right?
You know, but I screw up a lot, unfortunately. And like I said, as soon as I snipped it, I knew that I had made a mistake. But her and balloons that's the way I connect with her also. The first time I ever came to Malvern Manor, I brought her a purple balloon. Didn't know, you know, when I went, I said, I'll get her a pink balloon. As I stood at the counter, I said, no, she wants purple. And I got her a purple balloon, a lilac balloon. I asked Josh, can I put it here? He said, oh, absolutely. That balloon, from February till June, it stayed afloat.
Yeah?
Yes, I've never seen anything like that.
Now, she's one of the personalities that inhabit the Malvern Manor. And episodes back, I had Josh Hurd on. Josh is one of the co-owners and proprietors, the proprietor here at the Malvern Manor.
Great guy.
Yeah, lead historian, knows everything about the place. Mm-hmm. And if people want to hear in depth about the history of the place and how it started as the Cottage Hotel, I invite him to go back and listen to that episode. And Josh has his own podcast too, so there's a lot to explore about the Malvern Manor and Josh Hurd. There's other personalities here. Like I said, this place started as the Cottage. Is that correct? Is that the name of it?
Yeah,
the Cottage here.
Hotel.
And there's great, all this interest in the place and the people poring over the research and theorizing this and that about its history and why it might be haunted now. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that there's a connection to Villisca. Yeah. How close in proximity here we are in Iowa, between Villisca, Iowa and Malvern, Iowa, and the train route at the time, and how this was a hotel and people passing through. It's very likely, perhaps, that the killer who might have escaped on a train out of Malvern perhaps landed on the way or on the way back here at the Cottage Hotel. So these places are linked, and that's very interesting. So that's an interesting component to the Malvern Manor.
Yeah.
Another one is, like I started this interview, we are in what's known as the Shadow Man Hallway. We are right outside door number 2.
Yes.
Where the Shadow Man, for lack of a better word, I always think it makes him sound sinister, which maybe, I don't know.
We've come to the conclusion that his name's John.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Okay, so this is John. We're right outside John's room, and John has been known to pop out and spook, scare, rush people here. What's the story with John?
You know, again, all roads lead back to Paranormal Lockdown. They were here, they filmed, they told of this amazing tall guy that came out of that room and a shadow that would just literally chase you or come at you to the middle of the hall, and he would just disappear. After that was shown on television, a nurse that worked here called and said, hey, I would like to have a conversation with you. So her and Josh met up, and she said that there was a gentleman that lived in room 2. His claim to fame was he would come out of his room during bed checks or whatever, and he would chase the nurses from the shadow hall all the way to the kitchen. He never went into the kitchen, but he chased them to the kitchen. Now, like Josh likes to say, if he wanted to harm someone, kitchen has knives and forks and all of this stuff. Why didn't he hurt them? But he never did. So my experiences with him have been phenomenal. He's taught me a lot because, I've seen people come in here and there's a difference between ignorance and arrogance. When I first started doing this, I was kind of ignorant, I would sit here and kind of challenge him, not try, like I wasn't rude about it.
Yeah, last time I was here, there was the Shadow Man Challenge.
Really?
Well, these younger investigators, and I know what you mean about as you gain experience and you learn different methods and you kind of start, well, actually, as you get older, you just get more wise.
Yeah.
And you kind of reflect.
If you're lucky.
Right. But the Shadow Man Challenge, and not to interrupt you, but was to knock on the door and then kind of see if he would come out, like hang out here in the dark at night. 'Cause it's morning here and it's pretty dark.
Pretty dark.
The sun's coming through down at the end of the hallway, and through this room
And I'm
here.
pretty sure I've seen a shadow or two maybe, but
yeah.
I was kind of that. I mean, I want to know why I'm drawn here, right? Because Inez, in the beginning, obviously, I would go to her room and talk to her a lot, but I wanted to meet this infamous guy, but I was ignorant about it, and ignorance they excuse, because you really don't know any better. Now, there's been arrogant people like the 6'5", 230-pound wrestler that came here and said, "You don't scare me. I'm bigger than you. I'm tougher than you." And he felt hands around his neck saying, "How about now?" The guy literally ran out of the building crying and refused to come back in. So not only do they treat people accordingly, but a lesson that they taught me is sometimes the best response is no response.
Yeah.
People come here and they're rude and they're disrespectful. They don't get any evidence.
Yeah. There was a time when, and you saw it on TV, that provocation was pretty popular.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does stir up energy. I think like if you walk into a place, and I'm not the first one to come up with this theory, but when you walk into a place and you feel negative energy, especially if it's a place that's investigated a lot.
Right.
You don't know that if the day or two before other teams or other people have come through there and infused the place with their own negative psychical energy.
Correct.
Just by saying, "Well, come at me, ghost. Come fight me, ghost."
Right.
Or you don't scare me.
Or they
that bro could be the one. His energy could be quote unquote haunting the place.
Correct. Yeah. Or they bring in Ouija boards and they don't know how to open them. They don't know how to close them. They just want to be the cool kid, and that's, again, ignorance, but you have to be really careful.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Ouija boards. I've heard too many stories, and
I'm not either.
I'm not into occult practices. I mean, I don't know about them. I don't know really the history of them thoroughly to engage or entertain those ideas too much. Just because I'm not going to go into a professional's wood shop and start running all the saws. I'm going to miss a hand pretty quick.
Yeah. I truly like, and I've just began liking it. I like using a pendulum, and I do have a yes or no board. Have you ever seen those?
Sure.
Yeah, they're amazing. But other than that, they're really no different than dowsing rods. Other than that, I don't do Ouija boards. I don't do seances. Just not, For me, I mean, we were talking about the attitude people come with when they come here. Every time I walk into this building, now it's going to talk to my friends, but in the beginning, see, my mom was in a nursing home. And I remember my brother was just not pushing, but, just going through people and not even saying, "Excuse me." It was, they were rude. And I saw these poor people that just wanted some attention and wanted. So I would literally sit there and shake the guys' hands and hug the ladies and it's good to see you today. Oh my God, how are you? And I told, you heard that too, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I told God, I said, one day I want to make a difference in these people's lives. And so when I come here, that's exactly what I see. I see people that could have been my mother, my father, my I wear a shirt, ghosts are people too.
Yeah.
They have feelings, they have emotions. And I think the more we go from that perspective, the more successful we'll be.
Now, when I watched your documentary, and it's available on YouTube, Answering the Call.
Yes.
You had people talking. Was it embarrassing to have people talking about you?
It took a lot of getting used to because
you're kind of a shy guy.
Yeah, people don't know that because I put on the clown mask a lot.
Yeah.
I've never wanted this to be about me because I'm nothing special. I screw up a lot. I want to make it about them. I want to be there. That's what Shadows Redemption is. Going into the shadows, finding out their stories, and trying to offer them as much redemption as possible by letting people know that there was an Inez Gibson. There is a shadow man, and he's not that big, mean, tall guy that some people portray him to be, that he's actually very kind and he's very loving.
What I notice about you is that you have a lot of empathy for the former residents here. And I wonder if that empathy, and I know that translates through the rest of your life, but I wonder if on the spiritual side of things, if entities or parts of us that persist after bodily death can recognize that in you, and that's why you have the quote unquote success, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like activity seems to happen around you. Like we just heard a sound down the hallway a little bit ago.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're easily recognizable to spirits, because you do kind of look out for them.
Yeah, I do, because I genuinely care. This past summer, I had a little mental breakdown of epic proportions.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I had one friend that said, no, you're not giving up. You're not. And then, I look at my room that's filled with Malvern Manor memorabilia and, of other places. And I watch little snippets of Answering the Call, and I can't give that up. Mm-hmm. I don't care if people know who Ron Haskett is. I really don't. I care about people knowing the stories of those that live here. There's still people in this building that want their story told.
What you and I and others try to do is so important because we go through history.
Correct.
And we research history. Like, you poured through archives of this place. Mm-hmm. I know that there's a book available, We Are Malvern Manor. That just came out.
Amazing.
Josh had his hand in that. I don't know. I don't know the name of the person that helped with that.
Tori, and I can't think of her last name.
I should put a link on the site for. But what that book is, it's an attempt to document every single person that passed away here throughout time. Before it was a nursing home, before it was a place like that, but back when it was the Cottage Hotel, throughout its whole history. So what my point is that even if none of these phenomena are real, the focus on history and where we came from and those stories are vastly important. They're very important.
True. And if this isn't real, it's one hell of a trick. You know what I mean? It's one hell. But that
it sure seems like it's haunted.
Yeah. I celebrated my 3-year. You were here for that too. I celebrated my 3 years here, and I had a friend, Snowy. We were now I'll rewind. She told me, she said, I've been to Malvern a few times and I've never experienced anything. I said, well, you can come to my celebration and then I thought about it, I was like, wow, the pressure's kind of on, So we go across the street to eat and we come back and, we just kind of walk up, because every time I come here, I try to tell everyone hello, because when you come into someone's house, you address the owner, And we were just walking down the hall saying hello, and we got to the attic steps, which I don't go up there, but as we're sitting at the attic steps, you hear thump, 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 like somebody's coming down the stairs, and we're 100% sure we're the only ones in the building. So it's like, yeah, let's go down here. And that whole night was incredible. We were in Hank's room. Now Hank, or Henry, whatever he wants to be.
Who's Hank?
Hank is a gentleman that lived here. Sometimes he goes by Hank, sometimes he goes by Henry. He just lived here, and from the sounds of it, he was kind of a cranky guy that really didn't enjoy people, kind of one of those guys that would sit there and throw rocks at children from the porch.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, me in 10 years, basically. And so, the first interaction I ever had with Hank, I was with a bunch of women. He's not crazy about women. I was with a bunch of women, and they said, Hank, can you say our name? And I heard, whore, just like that. Oh. Whore. And I'm like, you just got called a whore. And someone else heard him and validated it, but he's a phenomenal guy. But we were leaving his room. I was like, see you later, Hank. And in my ear, I heard, bye.
Yeah.
Never gotten that from him before. But we come down here to the Shadow Hall.
Okay, we'll stop right there. Hank whispers in your ear.
Yeah.
How do you react to that? Do you jump? Does your hair stand up on end? Do you feel cold? I
wanted to leave that out. I almost plowed my friend over. Yeah. Like it shook me up a little bit, because Hank, you can get an EVP, you can, he is also the first person to ever physically touch me. There was girls here and they were teasing him about his clothes, and I said, Hank,
we should clarify, first person to touch you like a spirit.
Yeah. So anyhow, glad I came here. So I was folding his clothes because they were, just messing with him. I'm like, Hank, don't let these people do this to you. And as I'm folding his clothes, which I always heard was a no-no, he slapped my hand. I'm like, all right, what, okay, whatever.
You got your hand slapped.
Got my hand slapped, yep. But that night we came down here and I said, let's just make ourselves, I've never been a fan of equipment, ever, because you have to put it up, take it down. Half the time it doesn't work right. So I just, I prefer not to use equipment. Came down here, I said, let's make ourselves vulnerable. So Snowy and I were there making ourselves vulnerable. When we see from room 2, a huge shadow go in front of the window into the other room. Excitement was not we were thrilled. People come here, a lot of people come here just to see that. So we went and we told everyone, and our night was made. And we had other paranormal experiences. And before we were leaving, I said, let's go back down there and see if we could see him again. Now, like I say in the documentary, this gentleman, John, he comes to me in my dreams. He comes to me where I'm in the middle of the hallway. He comes out of his room. He turns. He rushes me. Now, no actual words are spoken, but we communicate, which I can't even explain. But we communicate, and I'm taken out of, this dream, and I'm put back into whatever I was dreaming beforehand. And usually the next day or two, Josh would be like, hey, can you come to Malvern?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting, but we were sitting here back in the hallway again, and we're like, maybe we'll see him come out of the room and go across. You know, we didn't know. We were sitting there. He comes out of his room again, one step, then he turns where he's facing us. And without even thinking, I looked at Snow, because we're in the dark. I said, turn on the goddamn flashlight. Then I had to go apologize to him. Because, you know, you think, oh, I'm ready for this experience.
Describe it.
It's hard because when you can hear about the shadow man, you can dream about the shadow man, but until you see him come out of that door.
This door right here.
That door right there, door 2.
Right there.
When you see him come out of that door, and he doesn't even step, it's literally a smooth transition, like floating. He comes out, he gets to the center of the hallway, and you can see how thick, you know, he's not obese or anything, but he's very well built, this guy. That within itself is intimidating. And then you look and you're like, my God, look at these shoulders, Jesus Christ. So I wasn't afraid because I'm not afraid of him. I consider him family. I believe he's a great protector of mine.
You can't help but be startled, though. At
Exactly.
Like
it's, you know, it's like, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth.
right.
I wanted the shadow man, but in that moment, I couldn't handle the shadow man.
Now, do you think, let me ask you this. Now, you probably already answered this question, because I'm just thinking. Oh, sirens. Shit's going down in Malvern, folks.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now you said he had a history in life of playfully, hopefully, you know, coming out of his room at bed check, turning down that hallway to the right, heading down and stopping short of the kitchen, which is right down that hallway past the oxygen room, Gracie's room. So he's got kind of a history of that. Might the shadow man, John, might he only be like a residual occurrence?
You know, we've thought about that.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've thought about that. Josh has, you know, done almost as much research as, you know, he's done moon phases, he's done this, he's done that. I think, because if you really stop, I think about this place a lot. If you really stop and you step back and you look at the people that he showed himself to, Hurd, Hauser, myself, these are people that are pretty good guys. You know, in my opinion, it's not, and Hauser said that it almost felt like a rage, you know. In my opinion, because they said he was nonverbal, maybe he's rushing them as a form of help me.
Yeah, maybe he had to go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah, how else?
Honestly, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah, I need my medicine. How else can you get the attention of someone when you're nonverbal? You know, you can't just say, hey, I would like to do this.
Yeah, and I know people like to rush to judgment about things being evil or demonic, but if you think about it, there's got to be part of you, if you're trapped here, or if you're confused about the afterlife, or if you've got unfinished business, if there's some kind of intelligence to ghostly phenomenon. If that's the case, and you're here in the halls of Malvern Manor, like we are the only living people here right now.
Correct.
And we're in the shadow hallway. You might be so bored, lonely, confused, sad, agitated, that when you finally have the ability, or somebody is looking for you, or maybe calling you by name, and you reach out to them in the only way that you think you can, and people call you evil, a demon, and you're like, no, I'm just trying to get
just me.
You know, it's something to consider, because one thing, as I keep listening to people on that I interview and learn from them, and listen to other great shows and interviews, nobody knows what the hell's going on
No.
with the paranormal. There's a million theories, and they're all great theories, and we need to open our eyes and our ears and our thoughts to those kinds of theories. But nobody can tell me that they know what's going on.
No, and the only time anyone's going to figure it out is when they're no longer here, and then death is still there, Not much to talk about, but, they'll finally have the mystery solved.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. I read a book by Richard Estep and about the school at Farrar, the Farrar School.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting theory that was raised in that book that Will, the longtime caregiver there, caretaker of the place,
great guy.
His future ghost might be haunting it right now. Have you heard of that one?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm butchering the theory, but what it is that place is so important to him, and he takes such good care of it now, that in the future, when we all pass on, but in the future, when Will's no longer with us, his spirit might be coming back to modern time, to present day, and that's who you see. Instead of a principal, it could be Will walking around, his future ghost. I know, we're crazy. But that was in that book, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Could you see yourself 100 years from now?
Hopefully I'm gone before then.
But when people are still walking around with the history of Malvern Manor in this area, might they see Ron Haskett wandering down these hallways with his dowsing rods, looking for answers, even in the afterlife?
If I can come back slimmer, absolutely. That's why we, are you talking reincarnation?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, if we're not bound by by the physical world and we're able to live in some other dimension, I mean, what is time to another? I mean, these are all crazy theories, but I love them, and that's why I bring it up.
I'm having a hard time tracking with that one.
Okay, your future self going back in time and visiting this place.
Absolutely. Because these people...
Why not?
No. Let me tell you something.
All right.
I was just a poor little fat kid in the hills of West Virginia who ran the creek barefoot, No one is more surprised at the things that I've accomplished than I am. But it's not me that done the work. It's these people that we can't see. If we're lucky, we can. They have changed my life. They've given me confidence. They've given me strength. This summer I went through a hellish depression, and someone wanted some woodworking stuff done. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't do it. But here I am painting, and you're just zoned out. And all of a sudden, I hear that wonderful, amazing 12-year-old voice, hello? And I'm like, hey, honey, because, I was just, for the first time, my mind was clear and focused. And I said, hey, honey. And I went in there and told the wife, and, I start painting again. And I was like, wow, And then I was very much surprised when she asked me, are you okay?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I've heard her say, hi, hello, but to then follow up, are you okay? And my response was, I am now. And for me, like I said, I was thinking about giving up and quitting, but that's why I do what I do. Because not only am I would like to think I'm making a difference in their afterlife, but they're making a difference in my life. Gracie, we talked about Gracie, allegedly had 13 different personalities. In a small confined room of maybe 10 by 10, she held all those personalities. And it's like, if Gracie can make it, I can make it. If John can make it, I can make it. I don't see these as ghosts. I see these as people.
So you kind of go by the title, or because it's not really a team, but you go by Shadows Redemption.
Shadows Redemption.
When you think about that, and when you came up with that, what was your concept behind Shadows Redemption?
I truly feel, and like Inez, there's so many dwelling in the shadows that they want their story told, but maybe they're afraid to have their story told because there's some ugly truths to their story. Maybe they're shy, maybe they're not trusting. My job is to go and build relationships with these people, to let them know I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to criticize you. I'm here to love you. That's it. And I'm here to help you. And if I can help by bringing redemption, by telling their story, by getting their truth out there, I will 1,000% do it. I don't investigate just for the sake of investigating. I've never been that kind of guy. There's haunted locations around here and even Kansas, that's not far away, Sally and all. I don't know if I have to feel called to a place, and because I don't want to waste their time and I don't want to waste mine.
Sure.
I was asked to go to Sally's house in 19, and I've watched that on a couple television shows, and that episode really got into my psyche for a couple days. But when I went in, I said, you know what? I've heard about you. I've heard what people think about you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to be scared. I'm just here to see if you can tell me who you really are.
Mm-hmm. Did you spend the night there?
No.
Yeah. We
stayed, I think, until 11 or 12. Other people got sick, and one group that night went to bed, and a lady, I can't say how, she said it's paranormal, it's a sick world we live in. One lady got up out of her bed, walked down the hall naked, and jumped into bed with another person. Yeah.
I don't know if that's paranormal.
I don't know either. She blamed it on that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But,
Funny.
Yeah, but things like that.
Yeah, we spent the night there, and I don't have a lot of remarkable stories about that experience, other than it was fun. You don't seem like a thrill seeker, so I understand.
I'm not.
You're not a guy that's going out and trying to get a good jump scare in you.
If I can tie my shoes, that's all the thrill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Climb some steps, day made.
Sure. But my point is that you seem to be going, you're looking for answers, and you're answering a call, like you're being called to a place. And then.
Yeah. Now I can tell you, people talk about scary and dark and all of that. We were talking in the car. I've not been here. Today's the 22nd. I've not been here since July 9th.
Yeah.
And this is September 22nd. The last time I was here, I invited a friend, Snowy, the one that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
She came and I hugged her and I'm like, oh my God, you're my favorite investigator. And in that moment, I felt kind of weird because, I like giving my attention to these guys, But because we don't see each other that often, she got maybe a little more attention than I should have given her. But she told me, she said, I had a dream about us that we were jumped on second floor. I was like, I'm not getting jumped. They love me, and just kind of laughed it off, whatever. We, walked around the house a little bit, and at an event, rooms are so busy, and I'm very big on giving heart-to-hearts with the people here. And so we just went upstairs, and we got to the hallway where she said we was jumped. She's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay, great. I'm downstairs, and someone's like, I think someone's throwing up in the bathroom, and it could be Carol Ann Snowy. I said, okay. So knock on the door, and hey, are you okay? Huh? I go in, and her head's an inch from kissing toilet water.
Bleh.
And I'm like, are you okay? Huh? Now, this is the second time I've seen someone, kind of black out. So I said, oh, hell. So, all right, we got to go. So I pick her up. She's like, I can't walk. I say, you're going to walk. So I pick her up and I drag her out to the front porch. I sit beside her. She's like, I don't want to sit beside you. What the hell with you too? So she goes and sits at the bottom step. As soon as she gets to the bottom step, she blacks out. Boom, gone. I'm getting too old for this. So I pick her up and I carry her off the property. I go get Jamie. I have someone go get Jamie. And I tell Jamie, we need to cleanse her because I'm pretty sure she was jumped. So Jamie comes out there and we cleanse her on the streets of Malvern. And she still didn't feel good. She still wasn't awake.
How long was she out?
At least an hour, hour and a half.
Like passed out?
Incoherent.
But awake? Did you guys call
She was
ambulance?
Not. Well, right. That's what I said. What are we going to do? We can't call an ambulance because.
If I pass out here, ghost or no ghost, let's call an ambulance, all right?
Yeah, see, but I knew that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, it's going to be fine. I've never been the type of person that say, hey, let's pray. I'm just not. I don't, I have very Christian views, but also, I believe, in crystals and, I believe a plethora of stuff. And I said, let's pray. And we prayed. And I'm like, okay, you're going to go sleep it off in the car for about 20 minutes. Okay. Gets out of the car. I'm like, are you okay now? I'll be okay. That's all right. Let's go back to the manor. And she started, anytime I would say the manor or suggest going back, she would vomit.
Now, I was there for a while that night.
Yes.
I didn't see a drop of alcohol in the place. So I just want
There wasn't.
I just want to say that.
Yeah.
That it's not like it was Ron's
No.
keg party here at the Malvern
yeah,
Manor.
absolutely
I didn't see a
not.
drop.
No. There wasn't. Everyone was on their best behavior, actually.
Yeah.
And it was, so I'm like, oh God, what am I put my head down and I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? And when I look up, I swear on everything I love, I saw a red orb shoot out of her. And as soon as that red orb came out of her, I feel better now, let's go back. True story. Yeah. I've never seen, that shook me up. I know I'm loved here.
Did you see where it went? Or did it just kind of dissipate?
No, which kind of bothers me a little bit, but no, it just kind of dissipated. And
any theories on the origin of a red orb?
I'm pretty certain red represents evil. There is an entity here by the name of Number One. He, people talk about the captain and how no nonsense the captain is.
The captain was the former owner of the cottage.
Yeah, he had a part in it. And people talk about him being a man of order, but Number One will absolutely destroy you. People come in here and they mock, like John, they mock him and they do this and they do that. And people's like, he's evil. Evil or not, I respect him because I'm human. He's not. I mean, I'm not, maybe he is, but he has a good advantage, and I approach him very carefully. I approach him very carefully.
Yeah. I've really had a lot of fun sitting here and talking with you. The words we've exchanged, the ideas that we've shared, but also because the location, man.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we are in the Shadow Hallway here at the Malvern Manor. I really appreciate you sharing all this with me, man. Your journey from from West Virginia. I mean, everything you've gone through. I know you've gone through a lot. And when we talked about having this show, this episode, I was like, well, we can talk about the Malvern Manor. That's cool because there's a million stories here. But we've kind of done that before. I just thought it'd be interesting to talk to you.
Right.
And it's people's lives and their journeys and those kinds of stories, those human interest stories, sometimes are far more interesting than the spirit stories.
And I think that is, and I'll say in answering the call, pain is a universal language. Pain recognizes pain. Excuse me, when I was younger, just weird shit happened to me that doesn't happen to I was snake bit by a copperhead and had to stay a week in a hospital. I had gas poured in my eyes, and I remember not being able to see, and my mom and my aunt just having me under the shower, dousing my eyes with cold water. It's a miracle I can see. One thing that...
Where'd the gasoline come from?
It was actually on top of a trash can.
Oh, I thought perhaps you...
Oh, no. No.
It was done to you.
No.
Right.
It was on top of the trash can, and I went to pick the trash can up, and it just doused me. But one thing that, unfortunately, I probably have in common with some of these people is when I was younger, I was molested by a quote-unquote family friend. And that... the snake bite, the gasoline, my parents' death, that stuff hurt, but that devastated me in a whole different way because for years I felt connected to that,
Sure.
It was like a dead body that I couldn't get off my back. And I never told anyone. I had a best friend. One day we decided to become blood brothers. That's before we found out what AIDS and all these other diseases were that we weren't a part of.
Yeah.
But I told him that, and we become friends, and we were great friends, and we went on to middle school, high school, and I was in the front of the bus, he was in the back, and the guy that had done this terrible stuff was walking up the street, and the guy, my quote-unquote friend, yelled from the back of the bus, "Hey, there's your boyfriend." And it devastated me. It hurt me. It caused so much pain, And for a long time after that, I didn't have friends, because I was afraid.
Sure.
But, these people that are in this building, they understand that. They understand hurt. They understand pain. And I understand it. And that's what I try to bring to the table. Yeah. You know what?
It's very much, when I asked you about Shadows Redemption, I know you look at it as you're into the shadows, finding redemption for those that don't have a voice. But in a lot of ways, though, through this work that you do, you are going into the shadows of your past and finding redemption in your own life.
That's very true. That's very true. Hate and resentment. I mean, my biological parents, my first memories of my biological mother, her telling me how she hated me, how she should have never had me, how I was a mistake. She one time said I should have killed you when I had the chance. What
a horrible burden for you to have.
And my biological father, who just left at the age of 6 and never showed his face again. But I oddly appreciate that because he never disrupted my life. She has in the past, and sometimes she still will. But I heard that too.
I heard that too. Yeah.
But hate and resentment, it's kind of like cinder blocks. I see it as cinder blocks. People talk about holding grudges. I could give you 2 cinder blocks to carry around, and you could do it for an hour or 2. But what happens? They start to weigh you down. And you can't eat because you're still holding the blocks. You can't sleep because the things you've been holding onto are slowly killing you. And that's what hate and holding grudges do. And I've learned a lot to just let it go, and that's what I try. And even him, there's times I've come in here and it's felt like a firestorm. I said, I can tell you're upset, but here's the fact of the matter. Everyone that abused you, that hurt you, that tried to break you, they're gone. Now you have people coming from all over the world to see you. You're a celebrity. They're gone. You're here. You're the winner.
Yeah.
That's the talk I give them because they bring a lot of joy to people's lives. Mine, especially mine.
What a great conversation. I've really enjoyed this hour sitting down, and we talked about doing this for a while, and I'm glad the stars aligned and the place was available. And thanks so much for Josh's hospitality. For
amazing guy.
I thought, I could talk to Ron on the phone, but I just know when we walked around the streets of Malvern that afternoon or that evening, and you showed me like, here's the bank and this is that, and I just thought, what a great story that. If you were open to it, to share with listeners, because a lot of my listeners have a huge interest in the paranormal, and
that's great.
And that's a great thing. But it's also good to hear people's stories and how they find their way into this realm of the weird, as they say. Ron, my man, thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
There we go, kids. Episode 210, Answering the Call with Ron Haskett. Much thanks to Ron Haskett for meeting me down in the Shadow Man hallway in the depths of the Malvern Manor. And also thanks to Josh Hurd, caretaker, historian, owner of the Malvern Manor, for making that opportunity happen. If you'd like to hear more about Josh and the Malvern Manor, I invite you to go back 2 years to episode 167. Next up on the Necronomicast, Alan Boy and his book, A Guide to the Ghosts of Lincoln, one of the finest paranormal books that you'll ever read, especially the introduction. Fantastic writer. As we uncover the secrets of the ghosts here in the haunted Heartland, focusing on Lincoln, Nebraska next episode. Haunted Heartland programming all of October here on the Necronomicast. Hope things are well with you. Spirit Halloween's open, everybody. Better go pick out your costume. This episode, copyright 2021, all rights reserved, recorded in Omaha, Nebraska, in the investigation studio for Audioscopic Communications. All right, this old man needs to go to bed. So, have a great one. See you next time on the Necronomicast.